Hello students, welcome to my class. Today I will be discussing your chapter number 14 and the name of the chapter is Family and the Domestic Life in Islam. So we all know what is family. Okay, so family, group of members live together is said to be a family. We live with our parents, we live with our mother, father, brothers, sisters, okay, with cousins, uncle, aunts, that is said to be a family. Group of people live together is said to be a family. So today I am going to discuss about the family and the what value does a family have in Islam. Okay, so values and the privacy is all about family and its domestic life. What are the roles of mother and father, what are the roles of children, what are the roles of wives and husband, all the values we are going to talk in this chapter. So let us start with the chapter family structure. We are going to discuss about the family structure. So Islam considers the role of family as the unit of society. The Muslim family is the miniature of the whole Muslim society. The Muslim marriage is a contract in which both wife and husband have rights and duties. It is the husband's duty to support his family completely. Yes, the Islam considers the role of family is a unit society, is a complete society. Role of family plays a complete society. Okay, it's a miniature, it's a small group in a society. It is a complete a unit. Okay, a complete unit. Okay, so husband marriage in Islam, marriage is said to be a contract between husband and wife. Okay, so husband have some duties and the wives also have some duties. Husband's duty, main duty is to support his family. Okay, support his family. It is the husband's duty to support his family completely. Even if wife is rich and economically independent, the wife has not to worry about earning a life. Yes, it is the main duty of supporting family is the husband. The husband's duty is to support the family. Okay, so whether the wife is economically rich or economically independent, that is financially independent. Okay, if the wife is rich and she is independent. Okay, she is independent financially, but still the husband should not think that no, my wife is rich, so I don't want to earn anything, I don't want to do anything for my family. It is not like that. The husband have main duties to support the family, whether his wife is economically rich, economically independent, financially independent. Okay, the husband's duty is to support his family completely without the help of his wife. Okay, the wife has not to worry about earning a living. The wife should not worry about earning a living. Okay, she should not worry about for earning money for all these things. Okay, this is the duty of her husband. Okay, if she has no husband or father, she can take refuge in the larger family structure. On the other hand, it is wife's duty to look after her family and her husband. She has control of the household and adopts a leading role in the education of the children. Yes, so far I told about the husband's duty is to support the family. Now wife's duty. Wife should not worry about the money for earnings. Okay, so I want to earn and my family should be run by me. This is not the duty of wife. The wife's duty is to support her family and support her husband and children. Okay, so in education wise, she should support her children, that make her leading role in the education of the children. She should play a leading role in the education of children. Okay, if her child is not reading, she should go and ask the child to go and read all these things. Okay, not for earning money. Okay, this is not the duty of wife to earn money. This is the duty of husband to earn money and the family support. Okay, she is the controller of the family. Okay, so not outside the family, she controls the family. Okay, like in education wise, supporting husband, helping husbands, taking care of husbands necessities. Okay, so all these things are wife's duty. Okay, Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, men, you have rights over your wives and your wives have right over you. So our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that wives have rights on their husband, at the same way husband also have their rights on their wives. Okay. So among the believers who show most perfect faith are those who possesses the best disposition and are kindest to their family. And further, when a person spends on his wife and children, it is counted as a charity on his part. Yes, if a husband spends his money, buys anything for his wife and for his children, okay, this is said to be a charity by that husband, okay, to his family. Okay, charity means is a gift, you can say. Okay, so gift, a charity he is giving to his children, giving to his children and his wife. Parents make a lot of sacrifices for their children. We should love them from our hearts and strive to make them happy. Yes, we all know parents sacrifices many things for us, many things for their for their children. Okay, parents stay out of their home and go far away and stay, okay, for their children's education purpose. Parents earn money, hardly they earn money to take care of necessity of their children. Okay, so what the children need, what the children don't want, all these things they take care completely, children. Okay, so the parents sacrifices many things. Parents sacrifices their happiness for growing up their children or a child. Okay, as you grow older, you must help them in their needs. You should show them understanding. You should lend you overflowing energies willing to help around the house. You should not wait to be reminded to empty the garbage, to help prepare meals or to vacuum the carpet. Okay, so when we were child, okay, when at our childhood, our parents sacrifices many things for us, for our happiness. Okay, many things, even they sacrifice their food also to feed you also. Suppose if from a poor family, mother and father doesn't have money to buy a good food for them. Okay, so what they do, they don't eat. Instead of filling their stomach, they feed you. Okay, so this is one sacrifice I told you that parents do. But when we grow up, we can support our old parents. Okay, so we should support our old parents like helping them household things, like you can cook meals for your mother and father. They will become very happy of seeing that you are cooking, and you can clean your home, you can wash dishes, many things. Don't keep the garbages aside. Okay, so by thinking that now my parents will come and clean it off, you go by yourself and clean it. That is a small helps you are going to do for your parents, because they made many sacrifices to grow up. Okay, so we became older, now energetic. Okay, so we became now we are helpful. Now we can do ourselves, so we can help our parents also. Okay, so now if you told your mother that you would return from playing 7 o'clock, be home on time. This is the best way to gain your parents' confidence. Yes, by another way of supporting your parents is keeping your words. Okay, so suppose if I am telling my mother that I will be at home near about 7 or near about 6 o'clock, I should be at home at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Okay, I should not delay. Okay, so keeping their confidence. Okay, so that they should think, no, my child told that she will come at home at 6 o'clock and she arrived. Okay, she will have the parents will have confidence on us. The parents will feel proud of us that my children has kept his or her words. Okay, so this is also one kind of help we can do to our parents. Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, paradise lies at the feet of the mothers. Yes, we all know paradise lies at the feet of our mothers. Okay, so that is said to be a proverb. Paradise lies on the feet of our mother. This means that if you help your mother, okay, so if you obey his words, okay, you are obeying Allah. Okay, so the words which is told by our mother, if you obey your mother, if you help her, no, so obviously you will go to paradise. That is why it is said to say that paradise lies on at the feet of your mother. May his nose be rubbed in dust who found his parents, one or both, approaching old age and did not enter paradise by serving them. Yes, so you may rub your nose at the dust, in the sense you may struggle, okay, you may not go to the paradise, you will not go to the, not you may, you will not go to the paradise until you take care of your parents. If suppose one person is not taking care of his or her parents, no, surely he or she will not enter into the paradise. Okay, so taking care of our parents, okay, so makes us, it's a key of a paradise, is a path. Okay, so path we will go through, we will enter into the paradise. Okay, so respect for elders, you should have a respect for elders also. It comes in hadith, he who has no mercy for our little ones and does not acknowledge the honor due to our elders is not one of us. Yes, we should respect our elders. It is not like that only I should respect, I should help my parents. Okay, so we should respect our elders also. Elders, whatever they say, we have to obey. We should not be abusive towards them. Okay, so we should not use any harsh words towards the elders. Okay, we should not break their hearts but not obeying them. Okay, so we have to always obey them. Okay, so this is the good character, this is the good character of a human being which is mentioned in Islam. So now we'll go about neighbors. What does the neighbors say? Okay, so Islam urges kindness to neighbors. A hadith has it that he is not a believer who eats his fill while his neighbor is hungry. Yes, Islam urges, Islam tells us to be very kind to everyone. Okay, very kind to everyone, not only everyone, very kind to our neighbors. Okay, in hadith it is mentioned that those who believe in Allah, those who are the believers of Islam, those who believe in Allah, okay, so those who, that person will never eat by keeping his neighbors hungry. Okay, so you will not eat. Okay, those, the proper believer of Islam is full of kindness, is full of charitable. Okay, is full of helpness, helping hands. Okay, they provide their helping hands to the neighbors. So it is said to be in Islam that those who never help their neighbors are not a believer, or are not a believer of Islam. Okay, so I swear he does not believe, I swear he does not believe, I swear he does not believe. When asked who, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, one from who injurious conduct his neighbors is not safe. Once a man said to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is a woman who worships Allah a great deal, but she is very abusive to neighbors. The Prophet replied, she will be in the fire. Once a man okay, came to Prophet, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said that there is a man who is a great believer of Allah, and she worships a lot. Okay, she worships, she prays, she offers her namaz, she offers her salah, okay, at a proper time, she worships greatly. Okay, so she is a great worshipper. Okay, so but she is very abusive to her neighbors. Abusive means cruel. Okay, very cruel, always fights, very cruel, all these things. Okay, so she is very cruel to her neighbor. So what will happen to her? Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to that man, she will be thrown into the fire. Okay, if she abuses the neighbors. Okay, so it says that you should be, whenever the only praying itself is not enough. Okay, so believing itself is not enough. You have to be very kind, we have to towards the people. The man then told him, but there is another woman who worships little and gives little in alms, but she does not annoy her neighbors with her tongue. The Prophet said she will be in paradise. The man again went to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and said, there is another woman, okay, she worships a very little, okay, she is not perfect in her worships, okay, she worships little, but she gives, alarms me, she gives food or clothings to the poor, okay, and she is not abusive to her neighbor. She is very kind to her neighbors, okay, she is not cruel to her neighbors, okay. So what will happen to her? Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has replied that she will be in a paradise because she is not abusive towards to the neighbors, okay. So it is clearly in this paragraph you can find out that it is very clear that Islam believes in kindness, okay, kindness, purity, clarity, everything, okay. Simply worshipping Allah and being very harsh towards others is not enough, okay. Those who are the perfect believer of Islam, those who truly believes in Allah, okay, he or she will be a very kind person, okay. So kindness. So houses, it is distinctly uncivil to enter someone's house without his permission. The Islamic principle of asking respectful permission and exchanging greeting ensures privacy. It ensures friendliness without undue liberty. Your receiving no reply doesn't entitle you to enter without permission. You should wait or knock 3 times and withdraw in case no permission is received. If you are asked actually to withdraw, you should do so. Even if they are your bosom friend, you have no right to take them by surprise and enter against their wish. Yes, privacy. Islam also says to be in a privacy. Houses, suppose I am going to my friend's house, okay, suppose I am going to my friend's house, I am visiting one of my friend, okay, so I should knock at the door without whether she is a very close best friend of mine, okay. So I don't have this right without asking permission to enter her home directly, okay. So this is prohibited in Islam. This clearly says Islam says privacy is necessary, okay. If my friend is very close to me, then also I should go to her. If I go to her home, I should ask permission to get inside her house, okay. So I should knock the door. Suppose if one person is going to his neighbors or going to his relatives house or going to his best friend's home, okay, so he or she should go and first time 3 times he or she should knock the door. That person should knock the door. If from the friend's home doesn't come any reply, he or she should leave from that place, okay. So until and unless we get permission, we are not allowed to enter others' house. This is said to be a privacy. Privacy is also laid in Islam, okay. So privacy matters a lot. You should not disturb others without any unnecessarily. We should not disturb anyone. With the permission only you should enter, okay. So privacy in homes. Islam sets a great value on rules of etiquette within the home's life. Servants have rather more freedom of access as they come and go at all time, but even in their case there are limitations. They must ask for permission before they enter on 3 occasions. So privacy in homes, houses, this privacy I said when you are going outside, okay. If your friend doesn't answer to your replies, replies to your your answers, you should not enter into her or his home directly without getting any permission. So privacy is laid inside the home also, okay. So servants, okay, if you keep the servants, almost nowadays all the peoples are having servants, okay. Most of the peoples, you can say servants, they are freely accessible. They can move here from one place to another, okay. So these also have some privacy. This should also be in 3 occasions they should ask permission. Let us see the 3 occasions. Before early morning prayer, at noon when you change your garments, okay. So before early morning prayer they should take the permission to enter into your home, and at noon when you change your garments, at noon when you are about to change your garments, at that time also the servant should take the permissions, that is the privacy. And after prayer at night, if the servants want to enter your home, at that time also he want to take the permission. Okay, particularly when children come of age, they should also ask leave similarly, for this is the time of privacy. Privacy is precious. It is essential for refined, decent and well-ordered life. All in the house, including the strangers within your gate, must abide by these wholesome rules. Yes, privacy is very precious. Okay, not only the servants, when your children become old, they also should get permission to enter inside your room. Okay, so suppose if I have grown up, okay, my father and mother were talking, okay, something very importantly talking, yeah, of course they are my father and mother, so I can go and disturb. Okay, it is not like that. I have to get permission from them to enter into their room. Okay, when we grow up, when we are child, it is not necessary, because we have not developed that much of consciousness, that much of sense that we have to take the permission. But when you grow up, when I growed up, okay, so if my father, if my parents are talking separately, some privacy, if some private things they are talking about the family, I should not go and disturb unnecessarily. I have to get the permission from outside the room, that by knocking 3 times, by asking, may I come in. Okay, so this is said to be a permission. The privacy is very precious in human beings life. Okay, dress and adornments. Clothing and adornments are symbol of purity and beauty. Of course, we wear clothes to cover our body, we wear ornaments. Adornments are said to be beautiful things. Okay, maybe an ornament, jewelries, all these things are adornments. Okay, so dress, we wear dress to cover our body, not only to cover our body, to make us beautiful. Okay, so dress makes us beautiful. Jewelries we wear. Okay, we look beautiful by wearing jewelries. Okay, so it is purity and beauty. It is said to be purity and beauty. But all good and beautiful things which are not expressively prohibited are lawful to believers. The Quran condemns all forms of world renunciation. It rather encourages Muslims to wear their good clothes when they go to the mosques. A good toilet cleanliness, attention to hair and other small personal details are recommended. Allah is beautiful and loves beauty, but Islam cautions against excess, extravagance and vanity. In senses, those who wear long garments or trail them along the floor in order to draw attention or for vanity. Yes, Allah is beautiful and Allah loves beauty, but it doesn't mean that while we are going to mosque we have to be a very decorative. Okay, we have to wear a very nice dress, should look like adorable, we should look like, you know, very pretty. It is not mandatory that when you want to go to mosque for prayer you have to wear a beautiful dress only, you have to wear ornaments. Okay, it is not mandatory. Yes, of course Allah itself is beautiful and Allah loves beauty, but it doesn't mean that you have to flaunt yourself. Flaunt means to display yourself. Okay, so you can wear a very simple, neat and clean, but remember your cloth and your body should be clean and pure. Okay, so when you enter into the mosque, okay, should be very pure, you should be very clean and neat. But yes, it is not like that. You have to wear a beautiful dress and beautiful things. You can wear a garments which is very clean, and garments are said to be an dress only, a loosely packed dress. Okay, so you can wear that. But Islam cautions against excess, yes, excessive, okay, and vanity, excess and vanity. So you should not feel proud by ourselves. Okay, yeah, I have this, I wore a beautiful dress for going to mosque. Okay, so vanity is the pride of feeling ourselves. We feel sometimes we wear some dress and we say, no, like, yeah, my dress is so beautiful, I look so beautiful, the others don't have. It should not be like this. Okay, so that's why Islam cautions, Islam prohibits all these things which flaunts yourself, which flaunts your body. Okay, pure silk and gold are forbidden to man. Islam forbids two kinds of adornments to man while permitting them to women: clothing made of pure silk and gold ornaments. Yes, Islam forbids two kinds of adornments, two kinds of ornaments, okay, to men. That is a pure silk, okay, pure silk cloth and gold ornaments, okay. It is prohibited to men. They cannot wear the pure silk cloths and they cannot wear the gold ornaments, gold jewelries, okay. Only this gold silk and gold has been permitted to women. They can wear, okay. So the women can wear pure silk and the gold, but not the men. Once Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam took some silk in his right hand and some gold in his left hand, said, "These two are forbidden to man among my followers." On other occasion he said, "This is the dress of a man who has no character." Yes. So our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say he took silk on his right hand and the gold on his left hand and said that this is the dress of a man who doesn't have any character, who are not believers of Islam, who doesn't have a proper character, okay. So proper good characters of an Islamic way, okay. So he said that pure silk and the golds are not the cloth of a man, it is the cloth of a woman. Muhammad once saw a gold ring on man's hand. He immediately took it from him and flung it away by saying, "Does a man pick up a live coal and hold it in his hand?" After the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had left the place, someone asked the man, "By Allah, I shall never pick it up after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has thrown it away." So once what happened, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam took the gold ring from the man and he threw it away, okay. So he threw it away. The man said, "I should never pick the thing which is thrown by our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam." The same ban which applies to the gold ring likewise applies to the gold chain, gold pen, gold watch, gold teeth, etc. The Prophet however permitted men to wear silver rings. Yes, it is completely prohibited by our Prophet Muhammad. He said, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said the men should not wear gold jewelries, not only the rings, gold chains, gold pen, gold teeth, okay. No men can wear all these ornaments which are made of gold. So only silvers are allowed for the men to wear, okay. So golds are prohibited for the men and the silver things are allowed to wear. Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had granted occasions to Abdul Rahman bin Auf and Zubair bin al-Awam for the use of silken garments for medical reasons. Yes, for medical reasons it has been permitted to wear. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam granted occasions to Abdul Rahman bin Awaf and Zubair bin al-Awam to wear the silk, okay, to wear the silk cloths for medical reasons, not without unnecessary, okay. So for medical reasons they can use it up. The wisdom of banning gold and silk to man. The life of believers is the life of striving and not for seeking the pleasure of this world. Yes, the life of believers, those who believe in Allah. So their life is to achieve something. By struggling they have to achieve something, okay. Not the taking false pleasures of this world, okay. Material pleasures, you can say the material pleasures, okay. We the believers are not in this world to take the false pleasures of this world, okay. Their life is to strive, their life is to strive, to struggle to achieve something. The believers is created to face and combat the realities of life. It is for seeking Allah's pleasure that a believer strives in this world. He spends his wealth in the way of Allah. He does not squander his riches on the pomp and luxuries of life. Islam desires to preserve manly qualities in its believing men, and the use of gold and silk benefits women and not for men. Moreover, gold is a universal medium of exchange and its use to make ornaments for men makes no sense. Worldly pleasures deaden men's sensibility to the truth and justice. Yes, Islam laid that this gold is prohibited. Gold is completely prohibited to men. As already told you, gold is completely prohibited to men. This is the material, we are here, the men and the human beings are here to strive our lives, to struggle, to achieve something, okay. So not for the material pleasures, not for the fault pleasures of this world, okay. So gold is an exchange. So it is said to be that medium of exchange, and it used to make ornaments for men makes no sense, okay. So gold is a one kind of a pleasure, okay. So this is no sense of this is not an ornament for the men, okay. This is the ornament for the women, okay. Worldly pleasures deaden men's sensibility to truth and justice, okay. So worldly pleasures deadens, they get, if the men finds that pleasures of gold, if he wears the gold ornaments and gold jewelries, okay, what will happen? He will be distracted from his justice and the truth, sensibility of truth, okay. He will be in a pleasure of that particular thing, wearing, wow, this is the, so he will be diverted from the justice and the truth, okay. Silk and gold permitted to women. Yes, of course, silk and gold are prohibited to men, but silk and gold are permitted to women. Girls and women are interested in clothing, the love of jewelry and ornament in nature for them. The girl who dresses modestly but tastefully and elegantly shows her refinement, but immodesty in dress and in the matter of ornaments cannot by any stretch of imagination be considered elegant. It is merely vulgar. Yes, girls and women are permitted to wear silk cloths and gold ornaments, but you cannot flaunt yourself, okay. You cannot display yourself. Girls and for the pleasure you can wear, not for showing to the others, okay. You have to dress, the girls and the women should dress very modestly, okay, very simply, with the beautiful things, okay, very simply and tastefully and elegantly shows her refinement. Elegantly you have to show your refinement, okay. But immodesty in dress, so immodesty is in dress is not permitted in Islam, okay. Immodesty in dress means wearing tight clothes and showing yourself to the others, showing yourself to the men that so how beautiful I look. This is said to be an immodesty, okay. So this is not permitted in Islam. Yes, of course you can wear beautiful dress, beautiful things, beautiful ornaments, but not for the show, okay. So not to attract the men towards you, okay. The Quran commanded, let them not stamp their feet so as to draw attention to their hidden charms. It is one of the trickles of showy women to tinkle their ankle ornaments to draw attention to themselves. Islam forbids these sorts of shameful acts. Yes, so already I told you, you can wear beautiful dress, you can wear beautiful ornaments, but you should not attract the men, okay. You should not flaunt yourself outside, okay. So the hidden charms, the attraction, you should not draw the attraction to hidden charms, okay. Whatever your hidden charms are having, you are wearing and going in front of a man, okay. If man praises you, wow, what a beautiful things, this is prohibited in Islam, okay. So being wearing, you can be hidden, okay. So you can wear all the ornaments, dress and everything or whatever you want, but you have to be in a safe side, okay. You should not go and flaunt yourself to the others. The men should not get attracted by you. This is the prohibit. These things are prohibited in Islam. So perfumes, Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, men should put on perfume that shows no color but has fragrance that spreads. Yes, men should put a perfume, men should put a perfume that shows no color but it has a fragrance. In case of women it is not like that. In case of women it is quite reversed. Okay, the woman woman can put a perfume which has a color which has no fragrance but have the color. Okay, cross dressing and modern styles. Who is not interested in nice clothing? Fine clothes appeal to almost all young people. Islam does not forbid nice clothing but it cautions against excess pomp and pride. Yes. So who doesn't love wearing clothes? Yes, of course I love to wear clothes, different clothes, different stylish clothes. Okay, of course you also love to wear clothes. Who doesn't love? All the young people, every people in this world, all the young, everyone, almost everyone in this world love to wear stylish clothes. Okay, so wearing stylish clothes is not prohibited in Islam, but Islam excessive cautions to show yourself, to be proud of what you are having, that is prohibited in Islam. So Islam does not prohibit nice clothing but in cautions against excess pomp and pride. Islam forbids believing men and women to wear clothes which fail to cover the body, which are transparent. Hence it is forbidden to wear almost skin tight clothes, drain pipe, mini dresses, micro dresses, see-thoughts, all sorts of topless garments designed to display the intimate parts of the body. Yes, Islam permits us to wear all the stylish clothes. Okay, all the stylish clothes has permitted in Islam to wear, but these clothes are prohibited in Islam which are transparent. Okay, which fail to cover our body. Okay, like mini skirts. If a girl is wearing a mini skirt, of course her legs and some parts of our hidden parts of our body is shown. Okay, so not a skin tights. Okay, which flaunts our body, the transparent dresses. Okay, which displays our body. Okay, so the intimate parts. Okay, this kind of dresses are prohibited, not the stylish dresses. Okay, which flaunts our body, which displays our intimate parts. Okay, that kind of dresses are completely prohibited in Islam, but not the stylish dress. You can wear a stylish dress, okay, which is very beautiful, but it should cover our body completely, okay, with a proper manner. Okay, so that is said in Islam. You can wear a designable stylish dress, but you cannot wear dress which is very transparent, which flaunts you, which displays your body, which shows your intimate parts, which shows your you cannot wear the topless, sleeveless, topless, sleeveless garments, sleeveless you cannot wear. Okay, because some parts of our body is not covered in that particular dresses, like mini skirts and all these things. Okay, skin tight, it flaunts your body, that kind of dresses are prohibited, but not the stylish and modest dress. Okay, elegant dress. Unisex fashions. During recent times, we see our markets flooded with the latest clothes and shoes. The latest hairstyles mean a great deal to some of your young men. Some wear long hair in the style of hippies, some shaved at the backsides in the style of the punks. Many cross-dress and want to break down gender barriers, use unisex fashions. Yes, unisex fashions. Okay, unisex fashions, that is a dress which a man can also wear, a woman can also wear. Okay, so intimation, if a man imitates the woman, this is prohibited in Islam. Okay, as I already told you, stylish dresses are allowed. Okay, but you cannot imitate a man's dress. Okay, so suppose nowadays it is in a market, it is a fashionable, okay, so that women are wearing jeans. Okay, so jeans and tops, which is actually the dress of a man. Okay, so you should not imitate the man, and the men's are doing the makeups, okay, which is actually preferable to women. This is the unisex. Unisex means both the genders can use it. Okay, so in Islam it is prohibited that particular, you should not imitate your other gender. Okay, so that is if you are masculine, then you have to wear your masculine dresses and masculine whatever is there for you, and you cannot imitate the feminine one, you cannot imitate the woman's dress, you cannot imitate the woman's one. Okay, so this is prohibited in Islam. All such things are superficial, have no place in Islam. This is what believers wear. Believers do not wear such thing. Allah's Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has cursed men who imitate women and women who imitate men. Choice of clothing cannot first be governed by what one likes best, but rather by unchanging Islamic principle of modesty. Okay, your choice of clothes should be, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam cursed those men and women who imitate their opposite genders. Okay, opposite genders in the sense, I can say, if I am a woman, I have to wear my own clothes, like salwar suit or sari. Okay, so all these things are my clothes. My clothes are not jeans and top. Okay, so that are the women's opposite genders clothes, that is a men's cloth. Okay, so the same way the men cannot do makeup what the women are doing, what the women are doing. Okay, so this is prohibited. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam cursed them, those who imitate their opposite gender. A man cannot imitate a woman and a woman cannot imitate a man. Okay, so clothing should be in a modest, clothing should be a stylish, but should be inside the Islamic principle, Islamic rules and regulations. Okay, of course I told you stylish clothes are, yes, of course we love to wear all the stylish clothes, but should be in the principle of Islam. Okay, we have to maintain our we have to maintain our Islamic rules and we can wear all these things. Okay, so going beyond the Islamic rules, it is prohibited. Going beyond the Islamic rules and wearing the miniskirts, that is prohibited in Islam. Okay, so this is here ends your discussion, and if you have any doubt, questions, so please come write it on the comment box. Surely I'll clarify it. Thank you so much.